So many people in 2022 are really not sure what the future holds for them. And especially after going through 2021 and all of this gloom and doom about interest rates rising and all this stuff. And are you going to be able to afford a home? Will interest rates go so high that you won't even be able to afford a mortgage? And you'll just be renting
forever.
Well, if you follow these 8 ways today that I'm gonna walk you through, this is really gonna help you to figure out how to get ahead this year, how to get ahead in 2022 and start off on the right foot. So let's get right into it. I'm Nate Polmateer. This is my channel on finance. I have 10 children and me and my wife have been married for 16 years, and I talk about finance and my own experience with finance. I've owned homes, I've had credit cards, I've budgeted, I've done all these things, and anything that I am talking to you about is about things that I've already done and I've already experienced. So today we're going to be walking through 8 ways to kick off 2022, and this is courtesy of Peter Greco's article. He's a mortgage broker of ours that I highly recommend. I will leave a link to him in the bottom, or just even a link to his email so you guys can get in contact with him. Let's get into the first thing that you need to start off for 2022 on the right foot. So the first thing you really need to do is take care of your credit. You need to take care of that credit that you have. And I know there's some proponents that just say, don't have credit. And for some of us, that is possible. And for others, that's just not the case. And you need to build up good credit in order to have a home.
So take care of your credit. What does that really mean?
Any credit that you have, you need to be able to make sure that the maximum amount of credit that you're using is 30%. So if you have a $1,000 credit card, only have $300 or less on that credit card. Make sure to make your payments on time, all the time. And the best case scenario is for you to actually pay that credit card off every month. It's going to give you a good credit rating as you build up your credit score. And that's really going to help you in order to get a mortgage starting in the future. You know those guys that stand at the doors at the Canadian Tire and are like,
hey, I see you're here to buy some tires.
Do you want a credit card?
Don't sign up for those credit cards. That's a really bad idea. The best thing to do is say, no, thank you. Don't get the free t-shirt or whatever. If you stick around long enough, you'll get a free t-shirt from my channel, and that's a lot better than those credit card guys. All right, so the second thing you need to do this year is to get a mortgage broker. So many of us were kind of lazy in this, and I was like this as well, where when I first tried to get a mortgage, I just walked over to a bank and was like, what can I get? Instead, go to a mortgage broker. What does a mortgage broker do? The mortgage broker is the one that does all the work for you. A mortgage broker, like Peter Greco in the description below. I'm not getting any sort of incentive from Peter, but check him out. He's an amazing mortgage broker. He's gonna find you the cheapest rates, and he's gonna spread it across different financial institutions that you may not even know about. Do you already have a home this year? Well, while the interest rates are fairly low, a good idea could be to refinance that home. And would you refinance if you're debt-free and you have no other debts, just so that you can get a hot tub in the backyard?
No, that's not what we're gonna do.
But if you do have a bunch of credit card debts, high interest loans, if you have a car payment, something like that, it's a really good idea to make sure that you get rid of those high interest debts. And if you can't get rid of those high interest debts in like a quick amount of time, then refinancing might be something you want to do in order to put you ahead this year and not behind. This will really help you as well, lock in at low rates. The Bank of Canada is going to raise interest rates. If you already have a mortgage, then you need to take advantage of your paydown options. And what are those paydown options? Many mortgages have at least 3 paydown options. One of those paydown options is usually like 15 to 20% lump sum that you can throw towards it. So do you have some money stored aside, you're not really sure what to do? Throw it towards your mortgage. You can pay down at least 20% of your mortgage. So if you have a $100,000 mortgage, you could throw $20,000 towards that mortgage this year. Another great idea is to double up your payments. So a double up payment would be, if your payment is $750, make that payment $1,500 instead. And you can even decide, you know what, I'm gonna do this once a month, where I'm gonna double up my payment once a month. What is this gonna do? It's gonna cut years off your mortgage. You might have a 30-year mortgage. You might add an extra $50 payment every few months, and after a year, you can see that you've actually shaved down 4 years off your mortgage. Number 5 for today is renewing your mortgage with your
Eyes wide open.
What do I mean by that? Well, when your mortgage company sends you your renewal, usually they'll send you a renewal and say, hey, Jeff, you're being renewed at 2.85% interest. And you might look at that and say,
That's a pretty decent rate, but it looks like I can get 1.5. Oh, well, I'll just
stay. Well, you know what? That's kind of what they call a lazy tax, where you just don't do anything about it, and then you end up spending extra money over the years. Even negotiate with the company you're with and ask them, hey, can you knock off 0.5 of a basis point? Can you bring that down to 2%? They might say no, but they might say yes as well. If you say, you know what, I'm gonna take my business elsewhere because I've already got a broker and he says he's gonna move me over to another company unless you knock off a few percentage points. And this is just part of negotiating. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing to be ashamed of. And you should always just try to negotiate when you're coming up to renewing your mortgage. And if you're not gonna negotiate, just make sure to look around and see what other options are out there for you. But it's not gonna benefit you in any way if you just stay stagnant with your mortgage company and just stay there year after year. The 6th one kind of goes for new home buyers, but it can also go for you if you have your own home. And it's go out and get a pre-approval. Have you been in your house a while and you're like, maybe I wanna sell, but you don't know what you can afford? Go to a broker, go to the bank and get a pre-approval to see what you can buy. First off, if you're a new home buyer, you definitely need to do this because you don't want to get in a situation where you think you can afford a house and you want to put an offer in on it and you find out, you know what, you actually can't afford this house, or it's like right at the top of your limit. Anytime you go for a pre-approval, that's just like,
The sky's the limit.
if you're pre-approved for 600,000, that's like your top of the limit of your approval. The best thing to do is to knock that down, maybe 25% or even 50%, and say, you know, I'm gonna look for a house in a much lower range, and then you know for sure you'll be approved and you'll also be able to afford that home once you go for that mortgage, right? You don't want to be house poor. That's not a good place to be. We've been there before, and it really isn't a good place to be when you're living paycheck to paycheck, trying to pay your mortgage, and just like,
hey kids, this week we're just eating rice and beans because we have a big mortgage and I keep buying you stuff.
The 7th thing is, do you have a home where in your basement, or maybe you have even extra room in the house that you can operate maybe an Airbnb out of, or you can rent your basement to a renter? Let renters pay your mortgage. This is a really good idea, especially if you have the means to do this. If it was my basement, I probably can't at this point, just
Because it's kind of dingy down here.
key here is that it's going to pay your mortgage for you, and you're not going to have to work extra overtime hours and extra late hours just to pay your mortgage, but you're going to gain that passive income, that passive rental income, and it'll pay your mortgage for you and free up that extra cash flow. So number 8, the 8th thing we're gonna do is we're not gonna forget to save. That's a hard one. This year, our goal is to save my full salary, $56,000. And right now we're at a decent spot where we are at $30,000. That's about 6 months, a little over 6 months of my income, which is great. But you need to do the same. And why do you do this? It's because you don't want to have something happen and then you have to jump into high interest credit, and then that could ruin your opportunity of possibly buying a home or even renewing your mortgage at a better rate. So if you save money, it's actually going to save you more money, which is pretty amazing. If you've watched the video all the way to here, well, thanks. Thank you so much. Let me know your favorite color. Mine is yellow. I'm a pretty big fan of yellow. Let's see if we can get some yellow going on back here. And yeah, that's my favorite color. It's been my favorite color as a kid. I always loved yellow sports cars. Bumblebee is one of my favorite Transformers because he's yellow. So good to have you guys here. Make sure to follow these 8 ways, and this is really gonna get you ahead in the future. Have a great week. See you guys next week. Check out the video here and maybe hit up this one over here. See you guys. Bye.